This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Number 3, where it's loaded. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is Joe Schad. Joe, how you doing, baby? How you feeling? Feeling good? Looking sharp?
Good, Big O. Doing well. Thanks for asking.
Yes, sir. Always good to have you on. We're all looking forward to your pool party. We've got the hookers and the coke-sniffing mule ready to go, okay? So we are locked and loaded, okay? So we're waiting. Make sure you tell the family to leave the house when we're there, okay? So we want a party to ourselves. Just you and the entire Big O Nation at Joe Schad's house. We good with that?
Yeah, we can do that.
There we go. All right, I like it. All right, so Joe, Flo gets hired as a Steeler defensive assistant and linebackers coach. Your thoughts on the opportunity, the fact that he took the job, and how it affects his case?
Yeah, I'm glad that Brian Flores is going to be in the National Football League this year. If not for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who knows if he would have had that opportunity. It's funny, in the moments after Brian Flores revealed that he would be filing a lawsuit against the NFL and several NFL clubs, I happened to run into Steelers owner Art Rooney, who has a home in West Palm Beach. And we had chatted about that in a previous meeting. And I asked him, did you see the lawsuit? And he said, yeah, I haven't had a chance to review it, but I am aware of it. And so, of course, I asked him about the Rooney Rule, which, his father, I believe, had come up with, and which, of course, has good intentions, but has not worked out as well as many would have liked. And he talked about how he feels that there, have been some positive changes in terms of, more general managers of color getting hired, for example. But it did not surprise me at all when it turned out that the Steelers and Mike Tomlin were the organization that gave Brian Flores this opportunity when many organizations never would have done so. So I'm glad it has happened. I think it'll benefit the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's, funny that Minkah Fitzpatrick is on the Steelers defense. Just a coincidence. You try not to burn bridges because you never know when you're going to end up on the same island, right?
Yeah, amen to that. That's going to be a funny reunion. I was thinking about this when Brian arrives to the airport. Is it Minkah with a little iPad that says Brian Flores, and he's there to pick him up, So is that what's going on? Those two bonding this weekend, having a couple beers?
I'm sure that Brian Flores would say that if he could go back, he would have done things a little differently in terms of his communication with Minkah, listening to Minkah's concerns about being a linebacker as opposed to a deep safety. And maybe now, Minkah is a few years older, a few years wiser. Certainly, he was always very mature for his age, Minkah Fitzpatrick. And he was a leader and he was a team-first guy, which is why it was so shocking when it came out that he wanted a trade. But, I'm sure that the storyline, as you would say, the narrative will be that they had a little cafecito, maybe a Steelers brew, and that they all came to the conclusion that they could have handled things better back then.
I'm with you, but you got to give Iron City beer its respect. If you're gonna say the beer, give it its love, bro.
I'm not a big beer drinker. I had a couple of beers at the Super Bowl. That's kind of like the day I drink beer, the Super Bowl.
But when you go to Pittsburgh, have you ever had an Iron City?
Yeah, back in the day.
Is it any good? I've never had it, actually. Is it any good?
It was good. I remember I covered Ben Roethlisberger as a rookie, his first playoff game. Or AFC Championship game. I think they played the Patriots in Pittsburgh.
Did you leave unmolested? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I remember Ryan Clark was in the locker room. He was very media friendly. I remember thinking, my gosh, this guy is probably going to be in media. And of course, he didn't end up in media. I remember Troy Polamalu was a very nice guy. Hines Ward did not surprise me that he ended up in media. But I remember just kind of, that was a different time, man. Newspapers, like they would send you to that and you'd like drive around and walk around and talk to people about Ben Roethlisberger and how he's impacted the city. Now those things don't happen. It's kind of unfortunate. You don't get that outside perspective Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh, and certainly I went to the brewery. That would have been back in like 2002 to 4.
Yeah, things have changed, my brother.
Yeah.
Even podcasts have more resources than radio stations.
Hey, there are new ways to make money, whether it's sports gambling, whether it's YouTube video. There will always be a way to make money for those who are smart enough to follow the money.
Or create a platform that really services the fans. And that's what doesn't exist in South Florida until we're able to put this together, because we are really the only sports platform that services South Florida
I
sports
mean, in
fans
general, it's always been
all over the
frustrating.
world.
Yeah, it's been frustrating that a lot of the local sports talk radio in many towns, not just Miami, it's not local. You get ESPN, Fox, and CBS putting their shows, and when there's breaking news, when Brian Flores is fired or Deshaun Watson trade, whatever, it's like you'd like to go hear what those guys have to say, the guys that you grew up with. It's just changed. But you know what? We have to adapt and adjust. And
that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, there's platforms like this, and you can still read,
right.
My columns on the web, because it's a different deal when you get to sit down and read somebody's columns as well.
Yeah, it's almost like what's left of newspapers, and now the podcasting digital platform world is where sports fans are getting most of their sports talk and information. Radio is very, it's one of those mediums that's being just casted aside because of all the other things that get in the way, from commercials to politics to all kinds of stuff. And so it's a shame. It's a shame. It really is.
It doesn't make sense, because I grew up in New York. I grew up in New York with WFAN, and WFAN, was very popular. I mean, it was just I know it's New York, but there were so many listeners. It was, Mike and the Mad Dog was a must listen. And,
dude, you have no. I met several people this last few days in New York. They hate FAN. They can't stand the programming that's on there nowadays. A lot of people are like, they're turned off by it, because what a lot of people are telling me, which is what we run on down here. A lot of people they're not talking sports because they're doing everybody wants to copy Le Batard, and there's only one Le Batard, dude. It's like, but everybody wants to find the next Le Batard show. So that's what you have. You have a whole bunch of people in all these markets, and they're just trying to copy Le Batard, and try to be yourself.
It's nice to have a blend. Most of the time you want to talk football, and then you just mix in a little bit of other stuff. But I agree with you; it can't be too much one way or the other.
Yeah, no, definitely. We got to be able to cover everything. That's what we're going to do on this platform, baby. As we're going to be expanding our Heat coverage with Anthony Chang, and we're going to be expanding our Canes coverage also coming up too, and the national perspective is also going to be taking an addition here to the program. Might be seeing some national insiders joining us also on the program. So this will continue to grow and elevate to other levels, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this whole thing. All right, Joe. So talk to us a little bit. What'd you think of the additions of Madison, Surtain, and Welker?
Yeah, 3 players that I covered back from 02 to 04, all really good guys. And they obviously have been accomplished in the area of coaching. It's not like they just took a guy who has no coaching experience. Wes Welker really did some nice things with Deebo Samuel and others in San Francisco. Pat Surtain did some really nice things at the high school level, winning championships. And Sam Madison did some nice things in Kansas City, working with those defensive backs as they went to a Super Bowl.
And Surtain, by the way, a lot of his players went to D1 schools to have success too, so he was able to develop. But what I love about the Surtain thing is he's working under Madison, so it's kind of like it's kind of a foresight thing on McDaniel's part. You're one guy's already proven, and then the other guy you're developing under him. So if you elevate Madison, then he can take over. Or if Madison gets a better job somewhere else, then Surtain can take over. So I kind of like that there's a lot of that in there. Even Pepe Le Pew now is at a spot where he belongs, where he's an assistant coach, gets to learn a new scheme, gets to learn from everybody else, and then he kind of gets to develop under all those other guys. Just like I think Applebaum is right behind Frank. So if you lose Frank, Applebaum should then be set by then to take over for Frank. So I kind of see the method behind the madness, the way he's structuring the coaching staff.
Takes a lot of guts to bring back Lem Jean-Pierre as an assistant offensive line coach, knowing that there's going to be a lot of head shaking. Obviously, the fans, some media members are going to be like, what? How is the guy who coached the worst offensive line in the NFL, how is he coming back? But, I think Mike McDaniel learned enough about Lem Jean-Pierre and believes that
he could be a good coach, bro. 5-10 years from now,
he could be that he can eventually flourish, and that maybe it wasn't all his fault.
It wasn't his fault, dude. He was put in a position that he wasn't ready for. It was obvious. It's not that he's a bad coach, but it ended up being terrible because he wasn't prepared. Now he gets to continue and further his education and give himself a chance to actually, develop into a strong NFL coach down the line. And he's like a level above a quality control coach, basically, folks. So relax. He's at a level where he's an assistant. He's not really the guy teaching everything. He's kind of helping and learning. What he'll do is they'll give him the guys above him will give him jobs to do, specific things to help teach them. So they're going to teach him what to teach them. That's
remember,
kind of
it's a completely different scheme. So
yeah, completely. Yeah. So he has to learn. So that's why I'm saying that he's kind of a step above quality control is what he is. So this is an opportunity where they told him, hey, this is an opportunity for you to grow and learn. Do you want to stay? Great. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if you had told me that Lem Jean-Pierre and Eric Stoodsville were going to return, I wouldn't have expected that.
Right. But
it's surprising.
But where they're at, it's not a problem because they're not in a position of power. They're more in a position of support and education.
And Stoodsville is a humble guy. You have to be humble to go from co-offensive coordinator to running backs coach, even though, as we know, he was never calling the plays. It would have been a lot harder probably for Godsey. I posted a story on the Palm Beach Post's website looking at the offensive tackle position. And you were talking about the Lem Jean-Pierre and Matt Applebaum. I was thinking about, it was such a mess last year. You wonder who was making which decisions. And here's what I mean. I wrote in my article that Liam Eichenberg on a Monday said in a press conference with us, I'm glad that I'm going to play right tackle. I believe I'm better suited for right tackle. I was drafted here to play right tackle. I believe Austin Jackson is a better left tackle than me. A few days later, Eichenberg started it right at left tackle, where he started the last 13 games of the season. Now, I don't blame Eichenberg. He was being told, hey, we drafted you to play right tackle, which we've discussed. I think that's where he's going to play this year, probably. But it was such a mess. Like, Eichenberg didn't know if he was a left tackle, a left guard, a right guard. Who was making that call? Was that Godsey? Was that Stoodsville? Was that Flores? Was Greer input? Like, probably not Greer.
No. That was Flores.
So Flores said, I'm done with us. I'm done with Austin Jackson, the left tackle. I've seen enough.
Yes.
And so Stoodsville, Godsey, Jean-Pierre, and Eichenberg and Jackson, there's 5 people whose lives are affected by that decision. Now, I will ask you this.
From what I understand, most of those decisions were made by Flo because he really didn't give his coaches the authority to make any of the final decisions. It would be passed through him. All right. No, hey, we're going to use this guy instead of middle linebacker or this guy corner, that guy left guard or whatever. And then he would say yes or no. No, I want this instead. Or he'll demand something. So in the end, none of his coaches really had the power of really moving personnel without his authority.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate, that's why you wonder how much Josh Boyer and the Dolphins defense will miss with the absence of Brian Flores. But to finish the thought on the offensive line, if it was Flores' decision or not, yes or no, Big O, was the decision to pull the plug on Austin Jackson at left tackle and play Liam Eichenberg at left tackle for the last 13 games, was that the correct decision?
Well, if I listen to my NFL guys, no, he was a right tackle.
But in this
case,
Austin Jackson off the left tackle.
But in this case, yes, you have no choice. You know what I mean? I probably would have moved Hunt also to right tackle because Jesse Davis for me had no business even being a starter as it is. But yeah, you're in this case. I kind of understand that they had no choice.
There was a guy, Greg Little. They never got a chance. They played him at left tackle. I heard he wasn't good.
How bad was he if he doesn't even get the live game?
I heard he didn't. He wasn't very good.
But then again, can we trust them? Like, you know, that's my problem with all of this. The people that are making the decisions, I can't trust. That's my problem, Joe.
All right. So listen, offensive line. We know the Dolphins have spent a first rounder, 2 seconds, a third, and a fourth. That's a lot of picks. All right. We know they're probably going to sign at least one free agent to play tackle, maybe a guard, maybe a center, maybe 2 tackles. If I gave you over under, Big O, 2 new starters on the offensive line, 2. Yes. Would you go over, under, or 2 is just right?
No, 2 is just right. I need to add 2 veterans to this line.
So left tackle and then either right tackle or guard or center.
I want center. I want Ryan Jensen from Tampa. I want to solidify that middle of the line for Tua and make sure that he doesn't have to worry. And then maybe a Lincoln Tomlinson from San Francisco or Lincoln Tomlinson from San Francisco, or maybe even a Alex Kappa from Tampa or something like that at left guard.
You want Teron Armstead or do you want
my problem I love Teron Armstead's talent. I don't love the fact that he's not durable at all.
How do you feel about this? I got one more for you. What about a 1-year deal for Eric Fisher or Dwayne Brown? 1 year.
Yes, I'll take that. Yes.
How about I like this idea. 1 year for Eric Fisher, and you let Jackson compete with him at left tackle.
Sure.
Camp.
Yeah. I got no problem with that. Now, it'd be scary if he beats him out because then you're like, well, what the hell is this, Austin Jackson? And then you sign Eric Fisher for nothing. But yeah, no, I get it. I get it. But remember last year, Shula said it best about the people who ran the offense.
I hope they evaluate the evaluators.
Okay. That's the important part. Yeah, he said that. Shula said that. You got to evaluate the evaluators.
I hope they evaluate the evaluators.
Yeah, you got to evaluate the evaluators.
That's from a Don Shula interview?
That's it, bro. Yeah.
Is this an X-rated show?
No, it's not an X-rated show, Shula. It's not. No, we have all kinds of drops. You think it's not real, huh? Is that what that face of yours?
I hope they evaluate the evaluators.
Oh yeah, it was a famous line of his for sure.
I hope they evaluate the evaluators.
Yeah, bro, that was a famous Shula line, dude.
But that wasn't when I was covering the team, right?
I'm trying to remember when that was.
That wasn't during the Gase era, was it?
No, that was before Gase. This might have been right after Wani or right before. Who came after Wani? Trying to know. It's just so.
Well, wants that Saban, right?
It was Saban, yeah. I think that's what it was. I think it was right after Saban that he said that.
I hope they evaluate the evaluators.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. Something like that.
So what does that mean? Front office, coaches?
Yeah.
Scouts?
Yeah, the people who are evaluating everything. They need to evaluate the evaluators. So yes. Yeah, it's kind of what he was saying, that the leadership at the top sucks. So you need to evaluate the evaluators. So yeah, he was on target. We
only got a couple of minutes, but I want to ask your opinion on this. And I know I'm interviewing the interviewer, but it's good. It's a conversation.
I love it.
What's the on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 absolutely, 1 no way, that Mr. Ross sells the team within the next year?
Well, he already
10
sold it
yes,
to Bruce
1
Beal.
no way.
You mean he gives it to Bruce Beal? He already
Gives up the
sold.
team, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's zero chance.
Wow.
Is that zero chance? Because unless he has hard evidence, Joe, the NFL is going to back Stephen Ross because the Shield is more important than the Dolphins.
I mean, at a certain point, it just becomes easier to just kind of move on and just turn things. I mean, at some point, he's going to obviously just turn it over. That's the plan. The plan's already in place.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Maybe he just says,
but the question is, Joe, here's what I want you to do now as a journalist with integrity, a guy that works hard like all of our other guys that are here. But what I'm saying is this is your story here, my brother. Okay. What if there is tangible evidence from Brian Flores against Stephen Ross? Can the NFL overturn the agreement between Ross and Beal because Beal is tied to Ross and it's his partner? Can the NFL overturn that sale and then open up the sale like the NBA did with the Clippers and give it to the highest bidder? Ross gets his money, but the NFL gets to pick who is the successor, not Ross, because Beal, it could have been his idea to make the offer. It could have been his idea to meet Brady, because apparently the connection to Brady is through Bruce Beal, apparently. So if there's any entanglement with Bruce Beal at all, that's what I would like somebody to dig and find out. Can the sale to Bruce Beal be reversed? And will the NFL do that if there is
common sense, and then common sense does not always prevail, but it would tell me that unless there was some direct evidence that it was all Bruce Beal's idea or something crazy like that, that the NFL would just allow for the transition that has been planned. I mean, look, the whole Brady boat thing, I mean, they're all Michigan people, and it was, I think, a Super Bowl party. I mean, I don't think that's that big of a deal. There's constantly tampering that occurs just before free agency. So
I know that, but that's never proven, that stuff. If there's actual proof of pay to lose,
yeah, that's like a 2 out of 10. For me, the tanking thing is more like a 7 out of 10 in terms of concern.
Yes. I the race thing, I don't think there's a case there. I think he's going to have an enormous problem proving that when it's all said and done. But the other one, it's the pay for lose. He has to have tangible evidence. If he doesn't have tangible evidence, I just don't know how he brings the NFL or Stephen Ross to its knees. That part I don't understand. But it is what it is. All right, what do you want on the Palm Beach Post?
Coming up on the Palm Beach Post website over the next couple of days, the holiday weekend. So look for it. One of the offers, it's going to come today or tomorrow. It's going to be for 2 years of digital access. I mean, you pay for it. You don't even have to worry about it for 2 years. I mean, how good is that?
I love it.
And it's really reasonable. So anybody who enjoys listening to our conversations on the show, who enjoys my columns, look for that offer. I'll tweet it out. Schad Joe on Twitter.
There you go. Schad Joe. And follow him if you're not following him. What the hell are you doing? Stop slacking. Follow Joe Schad and catch his work at the Palm Beach Post and subscribe like I do. Support our local journalist. Schad, much love. We'll catch you later on in the week, my brother.
Good to see you. Take care, bud.
You got it, baby. Be good. There you go. The great Joe Schad.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.